Hello, everybody. My name's Ian Duhig. I'm a poet. I worked most of my career, though, with homeless people. I'm very honoured to be representing Limerick in this strand. All my family came from Limerick, except my father. 8 elder brothers and sisters who were all brought up there. I was the first one born outside Ireland, in London. And I used to love going back to Limerick, very beautiful place. But today I want to draw your attention to somewhere you might not know, a small out of the way place, which for me is absolutely rich with associations. Just down the road from hospital, there's a village called Galbally. And just outside Galbally, there is an ancient site called Darby's Bed, 3,000 years old. And the story of Darby is Dermot, as in Dermot and Grace, Diarmuid and Gráinne, the doomed love story, Gráinne falling in love, although she's due to marry Finn, an old man. She falls in love with a young, beautiful Dermot, who in some versions has a beauty spot that makes him irresistible. But they elope and they have to flee all over Ireland. And one of the places they stay is in Darby's Bed. And Darby's Bed in Galbally was the first time I felt close contact with the poetry and drama of the ancient Irish myths. I'm just going to cheat a bit because my father came from Tipperary, and if you cross over into Tipperary from near there, you can nip into the Glen of Aghanou, which is some of the most staggeringly beautiful natural countryside I've ever seen. Galtry Mountains, views from all around, but both of them very beautiful places. But for me, Darby's Bed, all that poetry, all that myth, all that tragedy. If I was to have a message for other Irish people living in Britain on St. Patrick's Day, I'd say, if you have done well, celebrate, but think about the people who haven't done so well. When I worked in the homeless fields, and I still do have contacts there, lots of Irish people who came over didn't do well. And they were so ashamed they never got back in touch with people at home. They lived a life of poverty and loneliness, and it was very tragic. And if you haven't done so well, get help. There's other people out there. I work with an organisation from time to time called Leeds Irish Health and Homes, and it was set up to support Irish people in the community. So if you've done well, have a good time. Think about those that haven't. If you haven't done well, seek help. It's there for you if you do look. And what has always connected with me with Ireland, I think, is not the place itself, but as it exists in language, as it exists in myth. My mother learned poetry in school by heart, and I grew up from very young hearing her recite enormous poems that she knew by heart, because that's how you were taught how to do it in Ireland at the time in school. You learned everything by heart. So I was surrounded by poetry, and it was respected in my family, although it was what you would call a working class family. My father was an unskilled manual labourer. He'd been a soldier in Ireland. There was great respect for poetry and the power of the word. And I suppose my English friends who would be working class, they would be ridiculed, frankly, if they showed an interest in poetry. But for me, it was respected and encouraged. And I've always loved Irish poetry. I love English poetry too, of course. But that's one of the things that keeps me connected and has always kept me connected with Ireland. And I suppose the other thing which keeps me connected with Ireland, it must be said, is music. I'm not nearly as musical as I would like to be, but I love Irish music. And it's one of the things that when people go to new places, they make a community for themselves. In Leeds, there is a Leeds style of Irish music, which I'm told is influenced by Mayo, where lots of people came to Leeds, mainly Mayo, it must be said. But also over the border in Sligo, Coleman country style. So music and poetry, they mean a lot to me, and I hope they mean a lot to you. They sustain me through some difficult times, and they're there for you always, a treasury that will never empty. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day.